If you're seeing this, it's not random. Listen until the end, chosen one.
Chosen one, I need you to listen carefully. This is an important and urgent message, and it is not for everyone. If you do not walk the divine path of God, if your heart is not aligned with His will, this message is not meant for you. You can leave now. But if you are a true follower of God, if you have been chosen, refined, and set apart, then you are here because God allowed you to be here. This message reached you at the exact right time, not early, not late. Perfect timing. There are levels in life that cannot be explained with words, only lived through. And you, chosen one, have reached a level that others cannot even dream of, not because you are better, but because you were willing to endure, willing to obey, willing to walk alone with God when others walked away. What you carry now cannot be understood by those who stayed comfortable. This message is going to bring clarity to things you have been feeling but could not explain. Stay with me until the end, because what you hear today will settle your spirit and strengthen your mind. Before we continue, chosen ones, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones so they can be part of this enlightenment. And comment 777 in the comments to declare that you are aligned with God's purpose and ready for what comes next. Section 2. The level you reached was not loud, but it was final. Chosen one, let me tell you something that will calm your mind right now. The level you reached did not come with noise. There was no applause, no announcement, no crowd standing up to recognize what God was doing in you, and that is exactly how it was supposed to happen. Real elevation is quiet. Real authority does not need permission. And real spiritual growth does not beg for validation. Most people think growth is something that can be seen immediately. They think progress must be loud, visible, and celebrated. But what God did in you happened in silence. It happened in moments when no one was watching. It happened in prayers, whispered through exhaustion. It happened in tears that never made it to the surface. While others were busy proving themselves, you were being transformed. This is why some people look at you and still think you are the same. They still speak to you from an old version of you. They still expect the same reactions, the same access, the same explanations. But what they do not understand is that something ended inside you, quietly, permanently. You outgrew certain frequencies, certain conversations, certain emotional cycles. And you did not need to announce it. You simply stopped responding to what no longer deserved you. You see, chosen one, loud growth seeks attention. Silent growth carries authority. Loud growth wants to be seen. Silent growth does not need witnesses. God did not upgrade you publicly because public upgrades invite unnecessary interference. He worked on you privately so that when the change manifested, it would be undeniable but unchallengeable. There is a calmness in you now that did not exist before. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. You learned how to sit with discomfort without panicking. You learned how to trust God without demanding timelines. You learned how to move without explaining yourself. That alone tells me you reached a level many will never reach. At this level, you no longer argue to be understood. You observe, you discern, you choose peace over proving a point. That is not weakness, that is mastery. Immaturity reacts, wisdom responds, and spiritual maturity often chooses silence, not because it has nothing to say, but because it understands timing. Some people think you disappeared, others think you became distant. But the truth is you became focused. You stopped pouring energy into places that drained you. You stopped explaining your faith to people who mocked your obedience. You stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. And that shift was not emotional, it was spiritual. This level you reached did not come from ambition, it came from surrender. It came from letting God strip you of illusions, attachments, and expectations. It came from realizing that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your plans, or your prayers. When God matures you, He does not add noise. He removes it. That is why your circle got smaller. That is why your voice got calmer. That is why your reactions slowed down. These are not signs of withdrawal. These are signs of depth. Depth does not rush. Depth does not compete. Depth does not need approval. You may have noticed that you do not crave attention the way you used to. You do not need to announce your pain. You do not need to showcase your progress. You are content letting God be the only witness. That is not indifference. That is alignment. Chosen one, when God takes you to a higher level, He often does it quietly because noise attracts the wrong spirits. Silence protects the work. The enemy cannot attack what he cannot detect. And many people around you never realized when the shift happened, because it happened internally first. This is why you feel different, but cannot fully explain why. Your spirit matured faster than your circumstances. Your mind expanded before your environment caught up. You outgrew rooms that still look the same. You are operating with a higher awareness now. You notice patterns others miss. You sense intentions before words are spoken. You read energy before actions unfold. That is not imagination. That is discernment. And discernment does not scream. It observes. At this level, you no longer chase. You attract. You no longer force. You allow. You trust God enough to let things unfold without manipulation. That alone separates you from those who are still struggling for control. Control is a sign of fear. Trust is a sign of elevation. Some days you may wonder why you feel disconnected from the noise of the world, why drama exhausts you, why shallow conversations drain you. That is because your soul is no longer wired for survival mode. You moved into purpose mode, and purpose requires stillness. This level you reached is final in one sense. You cannot go back to who you were. You cannot unknow what you now know. You cannot unfeel the peace that God planted in you. Even if life shakes you, something inside you remains grounded. That is what God was building all along. So if you ever feel unseen, remember this. God does His deepest work in the dark. Seeds grow underground before they break the surface. And when they finally rise, no one can stop them. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not missing anything. You are simply operating at a level that does not announce itself. And that, chosen one, is why those who are still loud will never understand how far you have already gone. Section 3. Why they can't dream of your level. Chosen one, there is something you must understand. Not to inflate your ego, but to settle your soul. The reason they cannot dream of your level is not because they are less human. It is because they are living from a different source. Many people are driven by survival, approval, fear, or comfort. You are driven by calling, and calling does not operate on the same frequency. Some people dream only as far as their environment allows them. Their imagination is limited by what they have seen, what they have been taught, and what they fear losing. Their dreams revolve around safety, recognition, and control. There is nothing wrong with that, but it is not your path. God did not wire you for ordinary vision. He trained your spirit to see beyond the visible, beyond the immediate, beyond the familiar. That alone places you on a level they cannot access mentally. You see, dreaming at your level requires endurance. It requires faith that remains steady when there is no evidence. It requires obedience when logic says, stop. Most people want the reward without the refining. They want the promise without the process. But you stayed when it hurt. You listened when it was uncomfortable. You obeyed when it cost you relationships, clarity, and peace. That is why your dreams are different. They are not fantasies. They are assignments. This is why some people react strangely to you. They feel unsettled around your presence, even when you say nothing. Your peace exposes their chaos. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your consistency highlights their inconsistency. And instead of admitting that, many choose to misunderstand you. That is easier than confronting their own stagnation. Chosen one, never confuse their inability to comprehend you with a flaw in you. Spiritual blindness is real. There are people who cannot see past their emotions, their wounds, or their habits. Their inner world is loud, cluttered, and reactive. Yours has been trained to be still, observant, and grounded. You have learned how to pause before responding, how to pray before reacting, how to wait without panicking. That is not common. That is cultivated. To dream at your level requires the ability to sit with uncertainty without running back to comfort. Most people cannot do that. They need constant reassurance. They need signs before faith. They need results before obedience. But you learned to move with God even when the path was unclear. That is why your inner vision expanded. You stopped needing permission from people who never understood you. This is also why you experienced isolation. God often separates those he is preparing to elevate, not to punish them, but to protect the vision. Too many voices can dilute divine instruction. Too much noise can distort direction. You needed space to hear clearly. Others needed distraction to avoid facing themselves. That difference alone explains the gap. There are people who are intelligent, talented, even spiritual, yet still cannot dream the way you do. Because dreaming at your level is not about intelligence, it is about surrender. It is about letting God stretch your thinking beyond ego, beyond fear, beyond limitation. And surrender is terrifying to those who need control. Some people only dream within the boundaries of what makes sense. You learned to trust God beyond sense. You learned that obedience often precedes understanding. That is why your dreams feel heavier. They carry responsibility. They demand patience. They require character. And many people unconsciously avoid that weight. They choose small dreams because small dreams do not demand transformation. Chosen one, do not be surprised when people project their limitations onto you. They will tell you to be realistic. They will say you are doing too much. They will question your stillness, your patience, your faith. What they are really saying is that they could not survive what you survived. They could not endure what you endured, and deep down, they know it. Your level requires emotional regulation. It requires self-awareness. It requires the ability to sit with yourself without distraction. Many people are afraid of silence because silence exposes truth. You learn to sit in it, to pray in it, to grow in it. That alone disqualifies many from your level. This is why you no longer feel the need to explain your journey. You realized that explanation does not create understanding. Capacity does. And not everyone has the capacity to understand divine processes. Some people only respect outcomes. They do not respect obedience. But God respects obedience. And that is whose opinion matters. Chosen one, the gap you feel between you and others is not arrogance. It is awareness. Awareness that not everyone is meant to walk the same distance with you. Awareness that some people were part of a season, not a destiny. Awareness that God calls different people to different depths, and you were called deep. Dreaming at your level also requires healing. Unhealed people dream from wounds. They want to prove, escape, or replace something. You learned to dream from wholeness. You no longer need to prove your worth. You know who you are. That is why your dreams are not loud. They are steady, rooted, enduring. This is why envy often comes disguised as concern. Criticism often comes masked as advice. People will question your pace, your silence, your choices, but they are reacting to what your presence awakens in them. Something they avoided, something they postponed, something they settled for. And instead of facing that, they look outward. Chosen one, you did not outgrow people because you wanted to. You outgrew them because God grew you. And growth changes vision. It changes tolerance. It changes appetite. You no longer crave shallow affirmation. You crave alignment. You crave peace. You crave purpose. That craving alone places you on a level many will never desire, let alone reach. Understand this deeply. They cannot dream of your level because dreaming like you do would require them to change. And change is uncomfortable. Change demands honesty. Change demands accountability. You accepted that cost. Many did not. So when you feel misunderstood, do not shrink. When you feel alone, do not doubt. When you feel different, do not apologize. You are not called to be relatable to everyone. You are called to be obedient to God. And obedience will always separate you from those who prefer comfort over calling. Section 4. The price you paid that no one saw, chosen one, before anyone ever notices your calm, your clarity, or your strength. There is something they never saw, the price you paid. And I want you to hear this slowly, because this part is not about praise. This part is about truth, the kind of truth that heals what still aches inside you. You did not reach this level by accident. You paid for it in ways that cannot be explained in casual conversation. You paid with nights where sleep would not come, not because of noise around you, but because of noise within you. Thoughts circling, questions unanswered, prayers spoken softly, sometimes through clenched teeth, wondering if God was still listening. There were moments when you felt completely misunderstood, not slightly, completely. You were present, but unseen, speaking, but unheard, surrounded, yet alone. And what made it harder was that you could not fully explain what you were going through, even if someone asked, because what God was doing in you was deeper than language. It was internal surgery. You lost people along the way, not because you wanted to, but because growth creates distance. Some walked away quietly, some left loudly, some stayed physically but were gone emotionally. And each loss carved something out of you. You questioned yourself. You replayed conversations. You wondered if you were too much, too quiet, too intense, too different. But the truth is, you were becoming. There were seasons when obedience felt like isolation, when doing the right thing cost you comfort, when choosing peace meant letting go of familiarity, when faith demanded patience and patience demanded endurance. You watched others move ahead in ways that looked easier, faster, more celebrated, and still you stayed on your path. That choice alone cost you more than anyone knows. Chosen one, you carried burdens in silence. You smiled when your spirit was tired. You showed up when you felt empty. You held yourself together when everything inside you wanted to collapse. And you did it without applause, without reassurance, without guarantees. That kind of endurance is not common. It is forged. There were prayers you prayed that felt like they vanished into the air. Moments when God felt quiet, distant, almost silent. And yet, you stayed faithful. You did not walk away. You did not harden your heart. You wrestled, yes. You questioned, yes. But you stayed. That staying cost you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, but it also refined you. You had to confront parts of yourself that were uncomfortable, old wounds, hidden fears, patterns that no longer served you. God did not just remove external distractions, He addressed internal ones. And facing yourself without distractions is one of the hardest things a person can do. Many avoid it their entire lives. You did not. There were days you felt exhausted without doing anything physically demanding, because emotional labor drains differently. Carrying hope when circumstances are heavy drains differently. Holding faith when logic says quit drains differently. And yet, you carried it. You sacrificed the comfort of belonging for the clarity of truth. You sacrificed approval for alignment. You sacrificed immediate gratification for long-term peace. Those are not small sacrifices. Those are life-shaping decisions. Chosen one, there were moments when you felt like giving up, not because you lacked faith, but because you were tired of being strong, tired of being the one who understands, tired of being the one who forgives, tired of being the one who waits. And still, you did not become bitter. You did not become cruel. You softened where you could have hardened. That is spiritual strength. Some nights you cried without knowing exactly why. A release of accumulated pressure. A grief that had no clear name. A longing for rest, not sleep, but rest in your soul. And in those moments, God was closer than you realized. He was teaching you how to release without breaking. You were tested in ways that did not look dramatic from the outside. Subtle tests, quiet temptations, moments where no one would have known if you chose differently. Integrity tests, character tests, faith tests, and you passed more of them than you realize. Not perfectly, but sincerely. Chosen one, you paid a price emotionally when you chose not to react the way you used to. When you chose restraint over retaliation. When you chose silence over explanation. Those choices are not free. They cost ego. They cost comfort. They cost validation. But they built discipline. You paid a price mentally when you chose growth over distraction. When you sat with your thoughts instead of escaping them. When you allowed God to renew your mind slowly, sometimes painfully. Mental renewal is not instant. It requires unlearning before learning, letting go before receiving, and that process is exhausting. Spiritually, you paid a price when you chose obedience even when it did not make sense, when you trusted God's timing over your urgency, when you said yes without knowing how. Faith like that is not inherited, it is developed. And here is the part I want you to hear clearly. God does not charge high prices for low callings. The depth of your refining matches the height of your assignment. The weight you carried was not random, it was preparation. God was strengthening your capacity so you would not collapse under what is coming. That is why what you carry now feels heavy but stable. Why your peace is quiet but deep. Why your confidence is not loud but grounded. You earned this level through endurance, obedience, and surrender. Chosen one, do not minimize what you survived just because you survived it quietly. Do not downplay the battles you fought internally just because no one saw the wounds. God saw them, God counted them, and God honored them. The price you paid was not wasted. It transformed you. It softened you without weakening you. It strengthened you without hardening you. And now, you stand different, not because life became easy, but because you became anchored. And that anchor is something no one can take from you. Section 5. Why God had to separate you from them. Chosen one, there is a question that has echoed quietly in your spirit for a long time. Why did God allow so many people to fall away from your life? Why did connections fade, conversations dry up, and familiarity slowly turn into distance? This was not an accident, and it was not rejection, it was separation. And separation, when it comes from God, is always purposeful. God separates before he elevates, not because the people around you were all bad, but because not everyone is assigned to the next level of your journey. Some were meant to walk with you through survival, others were meant to help shape you. But not all were meant to stand with you in purpose. And God, in his wisdom, knows who can handle what he is building in you. There are people who love you, but cannot follow you where God is taking you. Their capacity is different, their priorities are different, their faith is different, and keeping them close would have required you to keep shrinking, explaining, or compromising. God will never ask you to shrink to preserve comfort. He will always stretch you to fulfill calling. Chosen one, separation is one of God's greatest protections. Some people would have distracted you, some would have drained you, some would have delayed you, not intentionally, but inevitably. God saw conversations that would have confused you, attachments that would have weakened your resolve, familiarity that would have softened your discipline, and he stepped in. This is why some separations happened without conflict. No argument, no closure, just distance. God quietly removed access because explanation would have caused resistance, and resistance would have exhausted you. So he chose peace over drama, silence over struggle, distance over damage. Other separations were painful, abrupt, confusing. You did not understand why things changed so suddenly, why loyalty disappeared, why support turned into silence, why people you prayed with could no longer stand beside you. Those moments cut deep. But even then, God was protecting you from spiritual incompatibility. You see, chosen one, not everyone who loves you can handle the version of you God is creating. Growth makes some people uncomfortable. Discipline makes some people insecure. Peace makes some people restless. And instead of adjusting themselves, they distance themselves. That distance is not your failure, it is their limitation. God also separates to refine your dependence. When too many people surround you, it is easy to lean on them instead of leaning fully on Him. So God removes supports, not to make you fall, but to teach you how to stand anchored in Him alone. That is where real strength develops. There were moments when you felt lonely, even abandoned. Moments when you questioned whether you did something wrong, whether you were too quiet, too intense, too focused. But the truth is, you were being redirected. God was teaching you how to walk without constant affirmation, how to move without applause, how to trust without reassurance. Chosen one, isolation is not emptiness, it is focus. When God isolates you, He is not punishing you. He is removing interference. He is giving you space to hear clearly, to think clearly, to see clearly. Noise distorts instruction, silence sharpens it. Some people could not go where you were going because they were still attached to old versions of you. They wanted access to who you used to be. They were comfortable with your availability, your explanations, your emotional labor. But God was teaching you boundaries, teaching you restraint, teaching you that access is sacred. Separation also reveals truth. It shows you who was connected to you by purpose and who was connected by convenience, who stayed because of alignment and who stayed because of familiarity. And while that revelation hurts, it also heals, because it frees you from false expectations. Chosen one, God separates you from some people because He needs to protect your peace. Peace is fragile at higher levels. It cannot survive constant conflict, emotional chaos, or spiritual immaturity, and God values your peace more than your popularity. You may have noticed that you are no longer drawn to the same environments. The same conversations feel heavy, the same jokes feel empty, the same cycles feel draining. That is not judgment, that is discernment. Your spirit changed, and naturally, your environment must change too. Some people will interpret your distance as pride. Others will call it coldness. Let them. They are interpreting you from a place you no longer live in. You are not obligated to stay accessible to everyone who misunderstands you. God also separates because He is preparing you for new connections. Aligned connections, purpose-driven relationships. People who can meet you where you are going, not where you have been. But those connections require space. God cannot add while you are still holding on to what has expired. Chosen one, the pain of separation was temporary. The clarity it brought is permanent. You now move with intention. You choose carefully. You protect your energy. You value depth over quantity. That wisdom was forged through loss, not comfort. And here is what I want you to rest in. If God removed someone from your life, He already knew what staying would have cost you. You did not lose them. God released them, and God does not release anything without replacement, even if that replacement is peace. You are not alone. You are aligned. You are not abandoned. You are protected. And the separation you experienced was not the end of something good. It was the beginning of something necessary. Trust God in this. The people who are meant to walk with you at this level will find you. They will not drain you. They will not compete with you. They will not confuse you. They will recognize the depth God built in you and honor it. Until then, walk confidently in the space God created around you. That space is not emptiness, it is preparation. Section 6. Signs you are operating on a different level now. Chosen one, there are changes that happen so quietly that you almost miss them. No announcement, no dramatic shift on the outside. Yet deep within you, something has settled. Something has aligned. And these changes are signs that you are now operating on a different level, even if you never consciously decided to level up. It happened because you stayed faithful. It happened because you allowed God to work in you without rushing the outcome. One of the first signs is emotional control. Not emotional suppression, but control. You still feel deeply, but your emotions no longer control your actions. There was a time when disappointment could derail you for days, when words could wound you deeply, when reactions came faster than reflection. But now, there is space between what happens and how you respond. That space is wisdom. That space is growth. You also notice that you do not feel the urge to explain yourself the way you used to. You are comfortable being misunderstood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. That is not indifference. That is discernment. You realized that clarity is not created by talking more. It is created by alignment. Those who are meant to understand you will. Those who are not, will not, no matter how much you explain. Your tolerance for chaos has decreased. Drama feels heavy. Loudness feels unnecessary. Constant emotional intensity feels draining. You crave peace, not because you are weak, but because you have tasted stability. Your nervous system learned how to rest. And once your soul experiences peace, it no longer negotiates with disorder. Another sign is that your priorities shifted naturally. You did not force discipline. It grew in you. You started valuing rest without guilt, silence without loneliness, solitude without emptiness. You learned that being alone does not mean being disconnected. Sometimes it means being deeply connected to yourself and to God. You also became more observant. You listen more than you speak. You notice patterns. You sense inconsistencies. You pick up on what is unsaid. This is not suspicion. This is discernment. Discernment sharpens when you stop being emotionally reactive. When you are no longer desperate for approval, your perception becomes clearer. Chosen one, you may have noticed that you no longer chase validation. Compliments feel nice, but they do not define you. Criticism may sting, but it does not destabilize you. You are anchored. Your sense of worth is no longer borrowed from people's opinions. It is rooted in identity. And identity, once grounded, does not shake easily. Your relationship with God also changed. It became less transactional and more relational. You no longer pray only to ask. You pray to align, to listen, to sit in His presence. Your faith matured from urgency to trust. You stopped demanding timelines. You started trusting process. That shift alone reveals spiritual elevation. There is also a noticeable calm in how you handle uncertainty. Situations that would have once caused anxiety now invite patience. You still care, you still plan, but you do not panic. You understand that not everything needs immediate resolution. Some things need time, and time, when trusted, works in your favor. Chosen one, you also became selective with your energy, not cold, not distant, but intentional. You no longer pour into everything that asks for you. You ask yourself whether something aligns with your values, your peace, and your purpose. That is not selfishness. That is stewardship. You may have noticed that your reactions slowed down. You pause before responding. You breathe before deciding. You reflect before committing. That pause is powerful. It protects you from impulsive choices. It keeps you from being pulled into unnecessary battles. It preserves your peace. Another sign is that you are no longer afraid of silence. Silence used to feel awkward. Now it feels grounding. Silence no longer feels empty. It feels full, full of awareness, full of clarity, full of God's presence. People who fear silence often fear themselves. You learned how to sit with yourself honestly, and that changed everything. You also stopped romanticizing struggle. You no longer believe that suffering automatically equals growth. You learned to work wisely, not just hard, to rest strategically, not just collapse. You honor your limits without shame. You listen to your body. You respect your mind. That self-respect is a sign of maturity. Chosen one, your intuition sharpened. You sense when something is off, even if you cannot logically explain it yet. You trust that sense, not blindly, but prayerfully. Discernment is not paranoia. It is alignment between spirit and awareness, and God strengthens it when He trusts you with more. You may also notice that you feel less urgency to prove your faith. You live it quietly. Your actions speak. Your consistency speaks. Your character speaks. You understand now that loud faith is not always deep faith. Deep faith is steady, enduring, rooted. There is also a gentleness in you that did not exist before, not weakness, gentleness, strength under control. You learned that power does not need to dominate. It stabilizes, it reassures, it grounds. That gentleness is a sign of inner security. Chosen one, you are also more comfortable letting things end. Conversations, seasons, expectations. You no longer cling. You release with grace. You trust that what leaves was either complete or misaligned. That trust brings freedom. You do not need constant stimulation anymore. Your mind is calmer. Your thoughts are more organized. You are not constantly seeking escape. You are present. Presence is a sign of peace. Peace is a sign of alignment. All these signs point to one truth. You are operating from a different place now, a place of awareness, stability, and spiritual grounding. You did not arrive here by accident. You arrived here through endurance, obedience, and trust. Chosen one, if you recognize yourself in these signs, do not question it. Do not downplay it. Do not feel guilty for it. God matured you for a reason. This level is not about superiority. It is about responsibility, and you are ready for it. What comes next will require this version of you, and God does not promote anyone He has not prepared. Section 7. How to stay at this level without falling. Chosen one, reaching this level was not the hardest part. Staying here is, and I want to speak to you plainly now, not to frighten you, but to steady you. Elevation changes responsibility. At this level, small compromises have bigger consequences. Subtle distractions matter more, and awareness becomes your greatest protection. The first thing you must guard is your mind, not from the world, but from unnecessary noise. At higher levels, distraction does not always come as chaos. Sometimes it comes as comfort, familiar habits that no longer serve you, conversations that feel harmless but slowly drain clarity, information overload that dulls discernment. You must learn to choose what enters your mind with intention. Peace is not accidental, it is protected. Chosen one, humility is essential here. Not the kind that makes you small, but the kind that keeps you teachable. Spiritual pride is subtle. It does not announce itself loudly. It whispers things like, "I already know this," or "I do not need guidance anymore." The moment you believe you no longer need God's correction is the moment you drift. Stay close. Stay listening. Stay dependent. You must also be careful with who you allow close to you. Not everyone who admires you understands you. Not everyone who agrees with you is aligned with you. At this level, relationships must be chosen prayerfully, not emotionally. You are no longer building from need, you are building from purpose. And purpose requires discernment. Chosen one, discipline must become your friend. Not rigid control, but steady structure. Routine grounds you. Prayer anchors you. Reflection keeps you honest. When life becomes busy or favorable, discipline is often the first thing people loosen. Do not do that. Discipline is not for survival seasons only. It is for maintenance. Another thing you must watch is the urge to rush. At this level, impatience can disguise itself as confidence. You may feel ready, you may feel capable, and you probably are. But timing still matters. God's pace protects you from exposure you are not meant to handle yet. Trust the rhythm God set for you. He sees further than you do. Chosen one, learn to rest without guilt. Burnout is not a badge of honor. Exhaustion does not prove devotion. God does not require you to destroy yourself to serve Him. Rest sharpens discernment. Fatigue dulls it. If you want to stay aligned, you must learn when to pause, not just when to push. You must also continue to practice silence, not withdrawal, but restraint. You do not need to respond to everything. You do not need to correct everyone. You do not need to defend your journey. Silence is not avoidance. It is wisdom. The higher you go, the fewer explanations you owe. Guard your heart from bitterness. Even at this level, disappointment will come. People may still misunderstand you. Opportunities may still delay. But bitterness poisons discernment. It hardens what God softened. When resentment arises, bring it to God quickly. Do not carry it. Release it before it reshapes you. Chosen one, stay honest with yourself. Self-awareness keeps you grounded. When you feel off, do not ignore it. When you feel pride rising, address it. When you feel drained, acknowledge it. You are not weak for checking in with yourself. You are wise. You must also remember why God brought you here. Not to compete, not to dominate, not to prove anything, but to steward what He placed in you. Stewardship requires consistency, not comparison. Stay in your lane. What God assigned to you does not require you to monitor others. At this level, temptation often comes through subtle validation. Compliments, recognition, influence, attention. None of these are wrong, but they are dangerous if they become your fuel. Your fuel must remain obedience. When validation becomes more motivating than obedience, alignment begins to slip. Chosen one, keep your relationship with God simple. Do not complicate it. Do not perform. Do not impress. Talk to Him honestly. Sit with Him quietly. Let Him correct you gently. The deeper the relationship, the steadier your footing. You must also learn to say no without guilt. Overcommitment leads to depletion. Depletion leads to confusion. Confusion leads to missteps. Protect your capacity. Everything does not deserve access to you. Saying no is not selfish. It is strategic. There will be moments when you feel alone again. That does not mean you are regressing. Growth often comes in layers. Each new layer may require new solitude. Do not fear it. Solitude has already proven to be your training ground. Chosen one, never forget this. God did not bring you this far to abandon you here, but He will not carry you where you refuse to walk responsibly. Stay alert. Stay grounded. Stay prayerful. Stay humble. This level requires less noise and more depth, less reaction and more reflection, less proving and more presence. If you stay anchored in God, you will not fall. You will remain steady. And steadiness, chosen one, is what allows longevity. Conclusion. Stand firm in what God has built in you. Chosen one, I want you to take a deep breath right now. Let everything you've heard settle in your spirit. You were never imagining it. The shift you felt was real. The distance you noticed was necessary. The calm you carry now was built, not given cheaply. God did not bring you to this level by chance. He brought you here by design. You reached a place where noise no longer controls you, where urgency no longer owns you, and where approval no longer defines you. That alone tells me you are aligned. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are meant to be. And even if the world does not recognize it yet, heaven already has. Remember this always. What God builds in silence cannot be destroyed by opinion. What He anchors in truth cannot be shaken by delay. And what He assigns to you does not require you to compete, explain, or rush. Your only responsibility now is to remain faithful to the version of you God refined. There will still be moments of uncertainty. That does not mean you are off track. It means you are human. Stay grounded, stay prayerful, stay honest, and above all, stay patient. What is meant for you will not bypass you. Before we close, chosen ones, if this message spoke directly to your spirit, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need reassurance today. And comment 777 in the comments as a declaration that you are aligned, steady, and trusting God's timing. Stand firm, chosen one. You are exactly where you need to be.